Welcome to our video on the top 10 amazing sites to visit in China. China is a country with a rich history and culture, and there are countless places to see and explore. In this video, we'll highlight some of China's most popular and must-see sites, from ancient temples and palaces to natural wonders and modern landmarks. The Great Wall of China. The Great Wall of China is one of the world's most famous and iconic landmarks. It's a series of fortifications made of brick, stone, and tamped earth that runs over 13,000 miles through China. Everyone knows that the Great Wall of China is one of the few man-made landmarks that can be seen from space. This is not true. The wall is hard to see with the naked eye, and even harder to see in most orbital photos because it blends in with the rocks and dirt around it. Still, none of these things takes away from how amazing this old building is. Before China was united during the Warring States period, these fortifications kept the country's borders safe for hundreds of years. The Forbidden City. The Forbidden City is a palace complex in Beijing that was the home of the Chinese emperors for over 500 years. It's a UNESCO World Heritage Site and is considered one of China's most important architectural and cultural sites. Imperial bodyguards were stationed outside the palace gates to keep regular people out. This was done to protect the emperor's and his family's safety and show how powerful the emperor was. So it got the name Forbidden City. It's no longer a place for anyone to stay, royal or not. When the last Chinese emperor left the palace in 1925, it became a public museum. 14 from the Ming Dynasty and 10 from the Qing Dynasty for 492 years, from 1420 to 1912. The Palace Museum in the Forbidden City is one of the biggest cultural museums in the world. Each year, 14 million people visit. The Terracotta Army. The Terracotta Army is a collection of life-size terracotta sculptures of soldiers and horses in Xi'an. The figures were buried with China's first emperor, Qin Shi Huang, in 210 to 209 BCE as part of his tomb and were accidentally discovered by farmers in 1974. The Terracotta Army is a collection of sculptures made of terracotta that show the armies of Qin Shi Huang, the first emperor of China. More than 8,000 terracotta soldiers made to look like real people stood guard over the grave of Qin Shi Huangdi, China's first emperor. The figures are now called the Terracotta Army, or Terracotta Warriors. They are in 3 pits near the city of Xi'an in China's Guangxi Province. After the warriors were found, the site became a museum and a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1987. The Yellow Mountain. The Yellow Mountains, also called Huangshan, the scenic area, not the city or prefecture, is one of China's most famous and beautiful mountain areas. In 1990, UNESCO put it on its list of World Heritage Sites. It has a lot of exciting pines, rocks, and seas of clouds that make up its beautiful natural scenery. The most obvious thing that affects the property is the number of people who come there. Mount Huangshan is one of China's most popular tourist destinations, with 2.74 million visitors annually and an 8.96% annual growth rate. The number of visitors needs to stay the same. The property is also at risk from pine wood nematodes, storm damage to trees, landslides and dams, careless actions by tourists like smoking and littering, and a lack of water which makes fires more likely. The Li River. The Li River is located in Guangxi Province and is known for its picturesque scenery. The river is surrounded by limestone peaks and is a popular spot for boat rides and photography. The Li River, also called Lijiang, is in Guilin, which is in Guangxi Province in South China. National Geographic says it's in one of the top 10 watery wonders of the world. On the Li River cruise, the most beautiful scenery is from Guilin to Yangshuo. In 1982, China's State Council named the Lijiang River Scenic Zone a place of historical and scenic importance. This was the first time the Li River was known for its cultural importance. There are thousands of karst mountains around the Li River and the cities connected to it. Taking a Li River cruise is the best way to see the beautiful karst landscape along the river. One of the best things to do in Guilin is to take a boat from Guilin to Yangshuo. The Bund. The Bund is a waterfront area in Shanghai, known for its colonial-era buildings and views of the modern skyline across the river. It's a great place to stroll and see the contrast between old and new China. The Chinese name for the Bund has nothing to do with its meaning. It means outer bank, which sets it apart from the inner bank next to Shanghai's old city. The Bund, also called Waitan, is a protected historic district on the water in the middle of Shanghai. The Bund is known for its big Western-style buildings that were built at the end of the 19th century and the beginning of the 20th century. The architectural styles of the buildings range from neoclassical to Beaux Arts to Gothic to Baroque. Lhasa. Lhasa is the capital of Tibet and is home to many important Tibetan Buddhist sites, including the Imperial Palace, Jokhang Temple, and Norbalinka Palace. It's a great place to learn about Tibetan culture and history. The capital of the Tibet Autonomous Region, Lhasa, is in a valley in the Himalayas on the north bank of the Lhasa River. Tibetan Buddhists think of Lhasa as a holy land, a Chinese city with a lot of history and culture. By the 9th century CE, Lhasa had been named the capital of Tibet. Before going to Tibet, people outside Tibet need to get a Tibet travel permit. This rule also applies to expats who live on the Chinese mainland. All foreigners must have a Tibet travel permit. With it, you can take the train or plane to Lhasa. The Yangtze River. The Yangtze River is the longest river in Asia and the third longest in the world. It's a great place to take a cruise and see some of the most beautiful scenery in China. The Yangtze, also called the Yangtze, is Eurasia's longest river. It's the third longest river in the world and the longest river that flows entirely through one country. It starts at Jerry Hill in the Tanggula Mountains on the Tibetan Plateau and flows east for 6,300 kilometers until it reaches the East China Sea. The Yangtze has been an important part of Chinese history, culture, and economy. Since the beginning of time, people have used the river for water, farming, sanitation, transportation, industry, setting boundaries, and even war. The Summer Palace. The Summer Palace, Yiheyuan, is in the northwest of Beijing. It's considered the best preserved imperial garden in the world and the largest one still in China. Even though it's only 15 kilometers, 10 miles from the center of Beijing, it feels like another world. Most people need at least a half day because there's so much to see and do. The Old Summer Palace is an imperial park 3 kilometers, 2 miles southwest of the Summer Palace. 2 different gardens are there. The Qing dynasty ended in 1912, and the imperial family of the Qing Empire bought the Summer Palace for their use. The Summer Palace opened to the public 2 years after it was built. The Giant Panda Breeding and Research Center. The Giant Panda Breeding and Research Center is located in Chengdu and is home to over 80 giant pandas. It's a great place to see these beloved creatures and learn about their conservation. The Chengdu research base of giant panda breeding is where giant pandas and other rare animals are studied and bred for free. It's in Chengdu, which is in Sichuan, China. In 1987, the Chengdu Panda Base opened. 6 giant pandas were taken in from the wild to start. Even though there aren't many of them, giant pandas have been all over the world to spread friendship from China. Since ancient times, giant pandas have lived in Chengdu, which is in China. According to fossils, pandas lived in this area as recently as 4,000 years ago. China has an incredibly rich history and culture, and these are just a few of the many amazing sites to visit. Whether you're interested in ancient history, natural beauty, or modern landmarks, there's something for everyone in China. Thank you for watching.